Hi, my name is Theodora Gunter, and I am thrilled to be here today with Dr. Rudi. And we're here to talk about an exciting topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts, which is African American health. And my first question is, why are you interested in African American health?
Yes, I'm not Afro-American, but it happened early on in my career in medical research. I was developing a drug which is called Renasorb for kidney dialysis patients. And then as part of that research, I went and visited some nephrologists, which are kidney dialysis doctors. And I was absolutely floored by the amount of Afro-Americans that have kidney dialysis and die from kidney disease. And as you know, about 13% of the US population is African American.
Right.
However, in kidney dialysis patients and in death from kidney failure, it's over half.
That's astounding. And
Right.
I'd like to talk about why it's so disproportionate.
Well, I just want to give you some numbers too.
Okay.
In the white population in 2012, about 300 new patients per million population happened that year. Afro-Americans, 720.
And look, that's amazing. So what causes this, and what can we? I'd love to talk about what we can do to combat that.
I've been thinking about this for 15 years, and I've interviewed lots of nephrologists, and I'm very curious about it. And it got me interested in Afro-American health in general, because the primary cause of kidney dialysis, or kidney failure, if you will, is high blood pressure. And of course, there's some supplements you can take to mitigate the increase in blood pressure in your body. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the other thing is that the simplest thing you can do to find out if you're going to have kidney problems is to get your blood pressure checked.
It's funny because I don't know if people tie the two together, that your blood pressure is related to kidney failure.
Well, kidney failure can come from diabetes, it can come from poisoning, it can come from football injuries, getting hit in the wrong place. But the number one cause, I believe, today is still high blood pressure.
That's so interesting. All right.
And Afro-Americans are not getting their blood pressure checked.
So they're just simply not going to the doctor, or they're not just ignoring the problem, or what exactly is causing them to not, they're not getting their blood pressure checked because we know why?
Well, I think the African American community needs to get more awareness of the fact that getting your blood pressure check is a good idea for a lot of things, heart disease, strokes. But in high blood pressure, your kidneys will die. And by the time you go to the doctor saying, oh, my kidneys hurt, or I'm having trouble urinating, et cetera, it's too late.
It's too late.
So you got to find out early on. And in today's society, getting your blood pressure checked is free.
Well, how often should you be getting your blood pressure checked? And it is readily available. We should talk about where and how, and you get to that. But how often are you supposed to do it? Once a month, once a year, every day? I don't know.
If you the first time you get it checked, if you have normal blood pressure, get it checked once a year.
Okay.
Okay. But if you have elevated blood pressure, you want to check it quarterly. Now there are places like I believe a lot of CVS stores, Walgreens certainly. At most of these places, you can get a free blood pressure check.
And that's an amazing thing that they've all adopted wellness into their business models, when before that was not the case,
right.
Even going back as recent as 5 years ago.
Right, and CVS has done an excellent job with incorporating wellness into their program. And the other thing is that if you have elevated blood pressure, you can start, well, actually I recommend before you get elevated blood pressure, consider taking a supplement of krill oil or what we're now promoting is caviar oil, which is it's like krill oil in its composition of EPA and DHA phospholipids, which helps keep your blood vessels flexible.
That's what krill oil does, because that's what I was about to ask. Why would you take krill oil, and how would it help prevent having high blood pressure?
Well, if your blood vessels become hardening of the arteries, or if you get plaque deposits in there, and plaque deposits are caused by fat oxidizing and forming deposits, then blood pressure will go up. If the blood vessel is not flexible anymore, then the pressure goes up. So the idea is, from a very early age, you should be taking supplements that contain EPA and DHA, phospholipids, as well as astaxanthin. And my recommendation is, and I'm not going to recommend any particular brand because I want to do this as a public service. Look for a krill oil with a good amount of astaxanthin in it. That good amount is about 1.5 milligrams.
I'd like to, pardon me for interrupting you, but I would like to talk more about, I've heard of different oils, but I haven't heard of could you help me with that again?
Astaxanthin?
That's an easy word to say, but I know it's important, so I wanted to I know our viewers might be thinking, what is that? Because it's something we've heard of omegas and we've heard of all of the above, but we haven't heard of that. So could you tell me more about that? Because I know our audience would probably want to know.
Astaxanthin is the pink color of salmon. It's also the red color of flamingos. It's the color of lobster. And it's a naturally occurring carotenoid that is an extremely powerful antioxidant. Krill oil naturally has astaxanthin in it. Krill oil also contains EPA and DHA, which you need for cardiovascular health. You only need to take 300 to 600 milligrams a day, no more. And your cardiovascular system will be younger. Right?
Okay, well that's what we all want. So.
A new product that's just come out in the marketplace, and again, I'm not going to mention any particular brand, but it's a product based on caviar, fish eggs, if you will, herring roe, and it contains, and astaxanthin has been added to it, as well as perilla oil, which is ALA, omega-3, plant-based omega-3. But getting back to the issue of cardiovascular health in Afro-Americans, I started with interest in kidney disease, and we can have a long talk about kidney disease if you like. One of the important things in that area, and I'll make this very quick, is in kidney disease, often kidney stones are a factor.
All heard that term.
And the important thing is drink lots of water. Whenever you eat tomatoes,
drinking lots of water is easier said than done, but I know that we're all guilty of not drinking, or most people are guilty of not drinking.
Hydration is very important. Keep fluids moving through your kidneys. Also, whenever you eat tomatoes or tomato sauce, make sure you have cheese.
Well, a lot of dishes have both, so that's a good reason to eat something.
Cheese has calcium in it,
great.
and it binds with oxalates, which is found in tomatoes, and it's usually calcium oxide. Calcium oxalate is what your kidney stones are made out of, and if you avoid absorbing them by eating cheese with your tomato sauce, you're much better off. But getting back to the issue of cardiovascular health in Afro-Americans, the other factors are that Afro-Americans, and it's a generalization, so excuse me, there's lots of Afro-Americans that eat very healthy diets, but generally many Afro-Americans have very hard, unhealthy diets.
And that's the part of the culture of that home cooking and that generation. I think that could be changing, but that generation certainly could definitely, like my mom, when she comes, I gain 10 pounds, and I know I'm not going to be eating, crispy vegetables while she's visiting for the month, So I totally, you're right, And it's not politically correct, but we want to be healthy, so we want to put that aside so we can get to help people, which is why we're both here.
Right, that's why we're here. Let me say this, that there are ways of making fried food that are actually okay.
What are they? Because
avoid using polyunsaturated oils to do frying. So don't use corn oil, safflower oil, or sunflower oil. Use Canola oil is not great, but much better than those others because it's mostly omega-9. It doesn't have a lot of omega-6 in it.
So that's a good start, is to just switch to canola as your first stop.
Canola is better than those others as far as cardiovascular health.
Okay.
And it has no taste.
That's good to know.
That's good. The other oils that are interesting, but you'd have to experiment with them, is palm oil is a saturated oil, and it's a lot healthier than these polyunsaturated oils. And then coconut oil is another one that's heart healthy and brain healthy.
And I've read about that, and you're kind of discussing something that I've been reading about anyway. So I think
but coconut oil has a certain flavor to it, and some people would not want their fried chicken to have that coconut flavor. So palm oil is better. Canola oil is good. The other thing in the
don't forget about fried fish though. I'm kidding, but fried fish. My mom loves to fry all the above: fish, chicken, and it tastes great, but it's not.
Well, it's not going to happen that no fried food will be eaten. I myself love fried chicken, but there are ways of preparing these things that are safer, and you'll have a happier life. The other thing that I think is extremely important is that in your diet, everybody's diet, whether you're African American or any other race, is vegetables. Green vegetables have enough carotenoids. Good source of carotenoids are carrots.
Color has something to do with, I don't want to mess up that word, carotenoids. I hope I did pretty good with that. But colorful foods, are they more in alignment with they're in that group, right?
Well, when your mommy told you that you should always eat things like red beets, carrots, and things that are colorful, she's absolutely right. She didn't know why, because there's actually two worlds there. One of them are the anthocyanins, the things like the color in cabbage, the color in blackberries. Those are antioxidants, but they're water soluble. You need some of those, okay? But the other ones, the carotenoids, and lutein, zeaxanthin, all those things, you can get them all from vegetables. Even kale has lutein in it. But you can't get astaxanthin, which is the most powerful one of these, from anything other than eating wild salmon, which is, as you know, fairly expensive. You can also get it in a supplement.
Okay, well then that's a great idea to just add it. If nobody wants to eat, as wonderful as salmon is, you can't eat it every day, or you wouldn't want to. So let's talk about adding in the supplement and how it's best to do that.
Well, again, as I mentioned, krill oil has natural astaxanthin in it. When you buy a krill oil, buy a brand that has high levels of astaxanthin. Caviar oil naturally has no astaxanthin in it, but one company has developed the technology for adding astaxanthin to herring roe oil along with perilla oil, and I think that is even a better product than krill oil.
And I have to say, I've been guilty of that because that's what you hear the most. It doesn't mean it's always right, but what do you hear? You need to take fish oil, and it's a standard sort of advice that's dispensed. And if there's something better out there, then our viewers and as well as myself, we'd love to know what that is.
Off camera, we talked about the supplements that you take, and you do take a lot of fish oil, and you have a need to have EPA and DHA in your body because of certain issues you have, but you're much better off getting these things from smaller pills where you don't get burped back, and they're much more effective because phospholipids in krill or in deep ocean caviar are much more bioavailable.
Yeah, you mentioned that when we were talking, and I thought that was really informative and surprising, actually. So.
And you don't have to take as much; you can take 10 times less.
Well, that's always a good thing. Yeah.
So I recommend 300 to 600 milligrams of deep ocean caviar, which is a herring roe extract, and you could consider it ovo-vegetarian. There's no fish oil in it; it's fish egg, ovo, and krill oil also. Now, some people are allergic to shellfish, so there you would have to avoid krill oil. And generally, herring roe is not a shellfish. It's also kosher and halal.
Oh, well, great.
So I think it's the better product. But let's talk a little bit more about Afro-American health.
Let's do.
Yeah, the other thing is injury. Being on athletic teams, playing high school football, playing college football or professional football, you become much more in danger of having brain injuries and also joint injuries. And I believe very strongly that things like krill oil and deep ocean caviar oil can help support healthy tissues in those areas.
That's great to know, because even just with aging, everything starts to hurt, right? And joints are one of the main culprits. So that's good to know. In addition to it being because of sports, it's just because we're getting older.
Well, a football injury could be compounded in the sense of a knee injury, but you got hit so hard, you got hit in the head too. And DHA does go into the brain. About 40% of your brain mass is DHA. Also, astaxanthin in both those products I talked about, deep ocean caviar and in krill oil, crosses the blood-brain barrier, goes into the eye, helps protect the eye, but it also may play a role in the aging of the brain. And certainly if you've been
I've read about that as well, and that's important for me, because one of the reasons I take it, in addition to the obvious benefits of heart health and all of that, is for brain. So in smooth thought and high productivity and things like that. So.
Yeah. So my interest in African American health started about 15 years ago. I've even attempted several times without, I would say, not too much luck, and we're trying to change that with this video of getting more public awareness.
And that's the best place to start, because it seems like that's the problem. They're not going to the doctor, they're not aware of what they should be asking when they get there, how important it is to get their blood pressure checked, and some of the things that we've talked about.
There's probably more African Americans dying every year from kidney disease than with gun violence.
Wow. So it's like this whole silent epidemic that's not being talked about, and I'm so happy we're here to talk about it.
And we're talking about it. The other thing is I saw a new website, and I don't know how I came across
this.
Yeah,
you sent that to me. I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, and it was blackdoctor.org, and I've been following it, and it's really been addressing a lot of these issues.
Well, that you were saying how pleased you were about that.
I'm very pleased about that.
Because it's, like I said, I'm just happy to be here with you today, because it's rare to find someone who cares, and it's such an issue that's near and dear to their heart, that they want to help people, and especially people in our community who, lack maybe the knowledge and to go ahead and prevent these. They're preventable,
so,
right?
Lifestyle. Be careful of your cooking oils, exercise, get your blood pressure checked at least once a year. If it's good, you can wait another year. If it's high, you need to monitor it on a quarterly basis, and if it really is in the range, you can look it up on Google, a certain range, you're going to start getting kidney damage. Go see your doctor. There's lots of support out there, and and today in America, theoretically, nobody goes without having medical care available, and prevention at the early detection can prevent kidney disease from even starting in people with high blood pressure.
Let's say you go to the doctor and you find out that it is high, but you're just now finding out. What's the first thing you do to bring it back down? Let's just recap.
Well, the doctor may, I'm a chemist, I'm not a medical doctor, but the doctor may prescribe a diuretic or another kind of blood pressure. There's some excellent blood pressure drugs out there. But immediately you have to really sit down with a piece of paper and start writing down things of your lifestyle, and talk to your spouse or your mate and talk about, what am I, is this being caused by some of the things I'm doing in diet, or I'm not
That's
exercising.
what I was looking for, and I knew that we would get to that. It's a lifestyle change you've got to make, and the sooner you make it, the better, right?
Pills alone will not solve the problem, and pills or drugs also have their own set of side effects. If you can get your blood pressure reasonably controlled naturally, that's probably your best bet, and you'll feel better. But there are some good drugs out there, and my position, Dr. Rudi, has always felt that since I come out of the pharmaceutical industry, I'm certainly not going to badmouth the pharmaceutical industry, but I'm in the supplements industry now, and I think those two things can be very complementary. So I recommend for general cardiovascular health, deep ocean caviar with added astaxanthin and ALA, which lowers inflammation in the body.
Which is key.
Yeah.
Which I've learned from you.
and then krill oil is another option, but krill oil that you buy today generally doesn't have enough astaxanthin in it because of processing and demand for krill oil. A lot of the astaxanthin gets oxidized. And I don't recommend fish oil because fish oil, if you get it from the wrong source, if you're buying it in that big bottle, if you're getting these pills that have been 1,000 of them in a clear plastic bottle sitting under UV light.
Which you see everywhere all the time.
Right, you see that all the time, and the UV light causes rancidification. Rancid fats are carcinogens. They cause cancer.
That just sounds so terrible.
They cause hardening of the arteries. They are very, very bad
Look for a dark bottle or just switch to...
Dark bottle, not more than 30-day supply at a time. Always keep your vitamins in a refrigerator. Keep your supplements in a refrigerator.
See, you're full of all these great tips, because who would ever think of that? I'd never, but hearing it, I keep them in a cabinet. But I bet 99% of the people have a medicine cabinet. That's what it's called, the medicine cabinet.
I don't make any income from people putting their pills in a refrigerator. Okay, I can make an income in what I do in manufacturing products and things. However, this is such simple stuff.
But it's simple because you're a genius at this. We're the dummies out there that are going, really? You're not supposed to keep your...
I'm not a genius.
I feel enlightened because I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. So.
I'm not a genius, but I'm always interested in the root cause of things. And it's not just in the African American community. The Caucasian community also has a huge amount of cardiovascular disease, and that's bad for everybody.
Yeah.
I also want to mention something that just came out today, and I have the New York Times, and this is October 30th, 2015, and one of the headlines is the breast cancer is on the rise among blacks. Well, we're talking about black women, okay? And it's more deadly in black women, and it is now on parity with white people.
And in the past, obviously, it was lower.
So finally, equality in something really bad.
And which is not what we're aiming for here.
That's not what we're aiming for.
Why is this happening? Because what do you think the increase is due to?
Well, we do not know why this is happening, but historically, white people have had more incidence of breast cancer than black people. And some of that might be genetic propensity of white people. Also, I could speculate that the foods that they're eating or the exposure to foods that they're getting may have had carcinogens in them. But you would think now, where we've removed a lot of carcinogens from the environment and from food, that would be going down in Caucasians. But this is just shock for me. I'm going to do more research in it. But let me just make one statement, and some people may consider this somewhat political, but it really isn't. It's just the reality of it. Black women probably do not have as much ability to take advantage of the healthcare system. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder for some reason in our culture why it's just not seen as a priority. I think there's a cultural shift, and it's got to be seen. And to everyone out there who's watching, it's a priority. Your health is a priority, and I just think it gets put on the back burner, and that's got to change.
The second reason is that probably when black women get breast cancer, it's usually a far more aggressive cancer. So even if they were to be getting the same treatment as the general population, they're more likely to die, and that's probably due to...
That's terrible, and I wonder why is that?
That's probably genetics.
Oh, I see.
Okay, it's just bad luck genetically. But there's a lot you can do to mitigate your chances of getting breast cancer.
So let's start with, what's the first thing?
We talked about it before. One of the things that you should do is be careful about how much omega-6 oils you eat.
It's back to those oils again.
Frying. But as I mentioned, you can use canola oil, you can use peanut oil, is also okay.
Oh, that's on the good list. Okay.
Coconut oil, palm oil, of all those, canola is the cheapest, palm oil is also relatively cheap. Coconut oil has a stronger taste, some people like it. I mean, in Southeast Asia, people fry all the time with coconut oil, and I love, Thai food and stuff. It tastes great, but culturally, it might not be your palate.
Yeah, it would just be new to try. It's something new and fun to try. So
a lot of carcinogens are stored in fat. Don't be fat. Okay.
Well, that's easier said than done, but we could all work on that. We all have a few pounds we could lose.
But a lot of the chlorinated biphenyls, all these things that were produced by the chemical companies that are still persistent in our environment are fat soluble. The other thing I highly recommend to all women is increase your intake of lycopene.
And lycopene is?
Lycopene is an antioxidant. You can get it in formulas, or you can take a lycopene pill. It's one of those rare supplements that the pill is actually healthier for you than eating cooked tomatoes or tomatoes.
Oh, really?
Because the lycopene is very pure and it doesn't have other things in it that could lead to kidney stones and those kinds of impacts. Eating a lot of tomatoes and not drinking a lot of water, you will get kidney stones. If you take lycopene as a capsule or as a blend in a woman's formula or in some other healthy formula, there's no oxalic acid in it, which is what forms kidney stones. And it's one of the few supplements you're much better off taking the pill than eating the food.
Well, I have to say, one of the things I really love about when I talk to Dr. Rudi is he's just so full of information. When you watch our videos, which I hope you'll tune in and watch them as often as you can, have a pen and paper and take notes, because he's full of information. It's great information that we all need to know, that our community needs to know, that will help us. And I really can't say enough about how wonderful it is that you care so much about our community and African American health, and it's great to get all this information. So that's why we're greedy. We want to write everything down.
Yeah, and for me, it's again because of my research background. When I saw a lot of people dying unnecessarily, no matter what race, when people are dying when they don't need to, that's of course a concern for me. It should be a concern for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.